She helped me work with a weighted pen to help when I'm writing with the tremors in my hand, things like that. And after occupational therapy was done, I continued with the putty to help strengthen the low muscles, as well as the weighted pen. Basically, I use a weighted pen anytime I have to write. It's been very helpful.
Sure. And that, I guess presumably that was just kind of increasing the inertia of the movements to actually make it easier to write. You have kind of like a slower task, or what would be the intention of using that weighted pencil? Just, are you just training, you mean?
It's what's fun. I don't know the science behind it. There's an actual
Okay.
weighted pen that I purchased on Amazon that has like
Okay.
this perfect grip for me.
Okay.
And when I would write with a regular pen or pencil, it was chaos. Like when I
Okay.
say it's just the definition of chicken scratch.
Okay.
When I had the weighted pen, whatever it did, I guess it slowed me down. It was it went from chaos to just sloppy, and I'm a sloppy handwriter, so it was like, oh wow,
Sure.
that's perfect for
Back to
me.
baseline.
That
Okay.
exactly, and that's all I
Yeah.
asked. I don't want
Yeah.
more. I just
Sure.
want that. So
Sure.
it was very helpful. I suggest weighted pens to every brain injury survivor out there that's having trouble with their hand. It's super helpful.
Yeah. I presume it's whenever you can effectively increase the inertia of a system,
Mhm.
you're going to by nature slowing it down, right? Because when you put weight on something, it's going to take more muscle forces to actually perform the task. It actually gives your brain longer to kind of react and actually learn from the sensory information that's coming in to modify the task, right? Because writing is interesting, right? We actually do feed forward predictions, right? You tell your brain, I want to write a letter A or whatever it is. And then you generate a motor pattern to write letter A. But what has to happen is you have to be able to know, okay, did I actually execute that? Or am I in the process of executing that task? Can I correct it? Like, hey, I'm going a little bit off course and it's looking more like a
Right.
vertical instead of like a diagonal. And so when you increase the inertia of a system, you give your brain and your sensory motor systems the capacity to actually see that online feedback and make corrections. And so it gives your body and your brain a bit more time to adapt online, as they say. So
Right.
yeah, that's kind of the underlying that the underlying mechanisms there. And that is your intuition is exactly right, though. It kind of slows down.
It's
So that's
an
really cool.
amazing description, by the way. That's the best
Yeah,
description I've ever heard.
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just like we can kind of think about this as if this is a kind of rotational stuff, but if you were to imagine rotating around in a chair, I got a swivel chair here. If you rotate around in a chair, if I held an heavy object, I would slow down, right?
Right.
If same sort of angular momentum, I would hold a heavy object, I would slow down, and if I released it, I would go quicker. And there's less time to react to those things. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
I never thought about that at all, but I did have like these little like the tremors. That's the best way to
yep,
describe it. So I would be in the middle,
yep,
and then it would literally just be out of nowhere, just be chaos. It would just
yep.
be so when I started using a weighted pen, it was just okay. It just slowed everything down. Oh wow. Hey, thank you for that description. That helped my
Yeah.
brain.
Other way to think about it too is kind of like a shock absorber, right? It's kind of a
Hmm.
damper, because a lot of those oscillations that we experience following neurologic injuries are these sort of higher frequency movements. And it really, there's a lot of reasons why that's the case. It could be damage to the cerebellum and sort of the ataxias, or it could be cortical ataxias as well, where these sort of feedback loops where you're trying to do a task. And what happens is you are over exaggerating and you get this oscillation effect and you get these
Hmm.
tremors. But again, if you can slowly dampen those, and a great way to dampen things is to put weight on them
Right.
when you do those when you experience those tremors. So actually the Motus hand kind of does a very similar thing.
Hmm.
The other idea here is it's kind of like a low pass filter where the muscle itself, that actuator, can actually dampen those tremors as well, because it does have that ability to kind of resist against you a little bit, provide a little bit of additional force.
Right.
And so that's one of the nice reasons we think that we're getting some of those effects in the sort of the tremors, sort of ataxia world. Um, so there we go. A little bit of dive into some neural mechanisms of how robotic devices can help and how a weighted pen can help you write better. So very good.